Am I the antagonist for causing a scene at Chipotle? So right off, I acknowledge that I am probably the asshole, or that everyone sucks here at least. I just want to know if I'm a mild, medium, or extra spicy one. Yesterday, I was at Chipotle for lunch. It was a Sunday, so they were short-staffed, but also a holiday weekend when a lot of people are still with large family groups. I get it. When I got there, I was probably like fourth in line behind an older couple. I was there for a bit when I realized the couple was taking a really long time to order for what seemed like 15, 20 people. Confusing ingredients on individual items, repeating a lot, etc. It bothered me a little because this is exactly what mobile ordering calling ahead is for. So they were causing the line to build up. All the employees were making this order, 4 more people got in line while I was waiting. What made me say something was when the place ran out of shredded cheese. That's a problem with management and shouldn't have happened. But the staff realized it when about half of the order was finished and had to tell the couple this. Their response was to have the crew disassemble all the food and make them redistribute the cheese across the rest. By this time, I'd been fourth in line for 15 minutes and like 10 more people had come in. People in line were starting to get upset and complain to the staff, which was making me angry. The crew was doing their best, and this couple was actively making their job harder. A great way to piss me off is for entitled people to cause service workers problems. So I said, "What the hell are you guys doing? Do you see the line of people waiting to order? Why are you doing this to the employees? Just take your order and go." The husband said that Chipotle ran out of cheese and the staff needed to fix it. This Chipotle's in a plaza directly across from a Trader Joe's, so I pointed to it and said, "Go get some. Then you can have as much cheese as you want." The husband said, "I shouldn't have to." I said, "Are you kidding me? Yeah, it sucks, but you're making things much worse and you can fix it yourself." He told me to mind my own business. I said they're making their problem everyone's and they used up the cheese. It would have run out soon anyway, but I wasn't feeling generous. I wanted to embarrass them into just leaving. Their entitlement won, and they stayed, so I stood with my arms folded and glared at them. At this point, I just didn't want them to feel okay about doing this and to make them think about it in the future. The employees weren't saying anything to me and continued as usual once the couple finally left, after like 30 minutes. I did apologize to the cashier for causing a scene, and they said not to worry about it. I ended up getting queso sauce on my burrito instead of shredded cheese, and I think I might like it better. Was I in the wrong here? I would say that in this situation, you are a medium spicy asshole. While it is understandable that waiting in a long line can be frustrating, your anger towards the couple and the way you reacted by yelling and embarrassing them was not the most respectful or appropriate approach. It's important to remember that everyone has different preferences and needs, and expecting them to go to another store for cheese might have been unreasonable. However, the couple also could have been more considerate towards the other customers and staff by being more efficient or utilizing mobile ordering. In the future, it would be better to address your concerns calmly and politely with the staff or management, rather than confront the customers directly. Am I the antagonist for not telling my roommate that I'm a lesbian? I'm a lesbian. I've known it to some extent since I was around 12 or 13, but due to living in a pretty conservative area and having a religious family, I've kept it on the down low. I've always dreamed of coming out, but it's just not realistic for me right now. I started college this fall in a much more urban, liberal area. My roommate Rachel is straight, but a strong ally and very open about it. We're not super close, but that's okay. I'm just there to do homework and sleep. Rachel has a good friend Kayla who is a lesbian, but I didn't know her very well before this night. Rachel and Kayla go out to parties every weekend. 2 weekends ago, they invited me to come. I had just finished a big exam and thought it might be a good way to have some fun, even if it's something I don't normally do. I'm not a big drinker, but when I occasionally do, I get kind of crazy. This time, Kayla and I were both pretty drunk and, long story short, we ended up making out. I had never kissed a girl before this. I have limited memory of the night, but it made me realize that I'm very attracted to Kayla, and I'm really excited to express my sexuality in a way I have never had the chance to at home. But I was also stricken with fear, as I am still closeted and don't feel ready to come out. Today, when I got back to school from Thanksgiving, Rachel wouldn't talk to me. We aren't super great friends, so at first I thought she was just upset to be back at college or maybe hungover, but I soon found out that she was upset upon finding out that I made out with Kayla. I don't know how she found out, but she was angry that she had been roommates with a lesbian for 3 months and didn't know. I guess it makes her uncomfortable to be changing and sleeping in the presence of someone who might be attracted to her, which I very much am not. I've never made any kind of sexual advance or even any comment that might hint that I am a lesbian. I stay in my lane, and she stays in hers for the most part. In this moment, I was mainly just fearful that my secret was out to someone who I didn't want to know. I called her a rude person and said she was being unreasonable. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm starting to think that I overreacted. I know what it feels like as a girl to be really on guard to sexual advances and harassment, and I'm afraid that I might have made her super uncomfortable. I'm trying to decide if I'm in the wrong here, in which case I will apologize, but I don't want to be walked all over if I'm in the right. I've never been confident in my sexuality, being raised how I was, and I feel that I was just starting to gain the confidence to explore it a little more. But this just made me feel awful. Was it my responsibility to come out to her when we became roommates? It was not your responsibility to come out to your roommate when you both became roommates. Coming out is a personal decision that should be made on your own terms and when you feel ready. Your roommate Rachel became upset upon finding out about your encounter with Kayla and expressed her discomfort because she had been rooming with a lesbian for 3 months without knowing. However, it is important to note that you had never made any sexual advances or comments that would suggest your sexuality. It is unfair for Rachel to assume that you posing no threat to her safety means you should have disclosed your sexual orientation to her earlier. Your initial reaction, calling Rachel a fucking asshole and saying she was being unreasonable, may have been a result of feeling threatened and hurt, as your secret was potentially exposed to someone you didn't want to know. However, it is worth considering apologizing for your reaction if you feel it was disproportionate or to mend your relationship with Rachel. It is important to remember that everyone's coming out journey is unique, and you should come out when you feel safe and ready to do so. You should not be pressured into coming out before you are ready, and it is not your responsibility to disclose your sexual orientation unless you feel comfortable doing so. Am I the antagonist for refusing to buy an expensive Christmas gift for my sister? My husband, 33-year-old male, and I are hosting Christmas at our house this year, which coincides with our son's first birthday on the 26th. Given that there will be quite a few people, and there will also be birthday celebrations, everyone agreed to do Secret Santa this year. When this was organized, the limit was put to a vote, and instead of a cap, we decided on a minimum spend of $50. This was probably a bad idea. I have drawn my sister, 26-year-old female. Some background on our relationship: it is not the best. Nothing has necessarily happened. We're just very different people, and she really does not like the way that I am living my life. She said she cannot understand why I would want to tether myself to a man, or why I would bring another screaming gremlin into the world. Needless to say, I don't like these things being said about my family, so I don't engage with her very often. To be honest, I was surprised she wanted to come to ours for Christmas anyway, but I won't turn her away as long as she can be civil and not roll her eyes when the baby fusses. Given my very tenuous relationship with my sister, I turned to my mom, 61-year-old female, for some gift ideas. I don't want to spend a fortune, but I would like to get her something she wants, enjoys. Unfortunately, it seems my mom has gone directly to my sister, and I am now getting texts from my sister with gift ideas that include exorbitantly expensive concert tickets, a hot air balloon experience, or, and this is not a joke, a cruise to Italy. Obviously, she doesn't just want one ticket, as she would then be lonely at the concert, in the balloon on the cruise. She would like 2 so she can take a friend. I was quite frustrated at my mom for telling my sister that I was her secret Santa, and I also am now quite upset at the entitled attitude when it comes to gifts. I spoke to my mom about it, and she said that I am being unreasonable given that I can afford this, so I should pick the cheapest one on the list and bite the bullet, hopefully mending our relationship in the process. I told my mom that this was beyond ridiculous, but she said that money shouldn't matter when it comes to family and I should use this as something to bond over. I was a bit ticked, so I sent my sister a message saying that her gift ideas were far too extravagant and I will get her something reasonable. My sister has now told the whole family that I am not keeping the spirit of Christmas alive, and she would like to boycott the celebrations. She's hosting a separate dinner at her house for anyone who doesn't want to socialize with Scrooge, and my mom is devastated that I am making her choose between her children on Christmas. Other family members are saying they don't want to get in the middle and would rather not go to either dinner. I feel like I have ruined Christmas and my son's birthday. Am I being the AH? Should I just buy the gift? Firstly, the decision to do Secret Santa with a minimum spend was a collective agreement, and it is unreasonable for your sister to expect an extravagant gift that exceeds the agreed-upon spending limit. It is also unfair for her to involve the whole family and try to boycott the celebrations because she didn't get what she wanted. Your frustration towards your mom's involvement in telling your sister about being her secret Santa is also understandable. It would have been better if your mom respected your privacy and not disclosed that information, especially considering your strained relationship with your sister. It is important to set boundaries and not feel pressured to spend exorbitantly on a gift, especially when it is beyond your means or feels unreasonable. You should not be made to compromise your financial stability to appease someone else's entitlement. In terms of what to do now, it would be reasonable to get your sister a thoughtful and reasonable gift within the agreed-upon spending limit. You have already expressed your concerns about the extravagant gift ideas, and it is fair to stick to your initial intentions. It is unfortunate that your sister wants to boycott the celebrations, but it is not your fault or responsibility to cater to her unreasonable expectations. Other family members should understand your position and not hold you solely responsible for the rift that has occurred. Overall, you are not the AH in this situation and should stand firm in your decision to buy a reasonable gift within the agreed-upon spending limit. Am I the antagonist for saying I won't kid swap over our Christmas holiday? I, a 32-year-old woman, have a brother named Charles who is 38 and has a girlfriend named Claire who is 35. Claire has a daughter named Ruby who is 8 and has additional needs. I also have a daughter named B who is 4. All of us, including our parents, will be going on a family holiday over Christmas. Originally, Claire was not going to bring Ruby because she was supposed to stay with her father, but he canceled last minute, so now Claire is bringing Ruby. To provide some context, Claire loves my daughter, which is great. She willingly volunteers to babysit B, even though I don't need babysitting since I'm a stay-at-home mom and my mother is nearby for emergencies. Whenever we see Claire at events, she always wants to play with B, and B loves her. It's nice to see, but sometimes Claire spends a whole afternoon fussing over B, even when my husband and I are perfectly capable of taking care of her. However, since Claire is great with B, we don't mind. A couple of days ago, Claire and I were texting about what to pack for the trip, and I was lending her some clothes. During this conversation, I sent her a picture of what I was packing for B to give her an idea of what Ruby might need. Claire expressed how much she was looking forward to seeing B, and suggested that we do a kid swap for a couple of days during the holiday. She wanted us to babysit each other's kids for the day. I immediately wasn't keen on this idea, because I've only met Ruby twice, and I know nothing about her needs or how to properly care for her. Additionally, I go on holiday to spend time with my own child, not to have her taken care of by someone else. I tried to avoid the issue by saying we could do things together, but Claire kept insisting. She specifically wanted her and Charles to take B out for a day of ice skating. This back and forth continued until I finally said no. I told her that I'm not letting her borrow my child because she already has one. Claire accused me of being unfair and said she deserves a break and an enjoyable holiday too. She then said she no longer wants to borrow my clothes and stopped texting me. Now Charles is saying that Claire is very hurt because I won't let her take B out and that Claire adores B. I explained that my discomfort comes from not being comfortable caring for Ruby on my own, and I find it strange that Claire's idea of a break from parenting involves babysitting. Charles thinks I'm overreacting and says that watching Ruby for a few hours doesn't require a degree, so I should just help Claire out. Now I'm starting to question if he's right. Am I the asshole? It is completely understandable that you would not feel comfortable taking care of Ruby on your own, especially since you have only met her twice and are not familiar with her specific needs. You ultimately have the right to decide who you are comfortable babysitting. It is also important to prioritize your own time with your daughter during the holiday, as that is the purpose of the trip. It is not unfair for you to want to spend quality time with B without feeling the need to share her with others. Claire's reaction to your refusal seems excessive, as she stopped texting you and withdrew her request for borrowing your clothes. It is not fair for her to guilt-trip you or make you feel bad for declining her offer. It is also worth mentioning that Charles accusing you of over-dramatizing and implying that babysitting Ruby does not require any special knowledge or understanding of her needs is dismissive of your concerns. Caring for a child with additional needs can indeed be different and might require specific knowledge or experience. In conclusion, you are not the asshole for refusing to babysit Ruby if you are not comfortable doing so. Your decision should be respected, and it is important to prioritize your time with your own child during the holiday.